The engine sputters and dies, leaving me stranded in the inky blackness of night. I slam my fist against the steering wheel, and a string of curses escapes my lips. The following silence is deafening, broken only by the frantic pounding of my heart. My fingers fumble for my phone, desperate for a lifeline. The screen remains stubbornly dark, no signal. Panic claws at my throat as I stare out into the void beyond my windshield. The trees stand tall, dark shadows looming, their twisted branches curling toward me like skeletal hands. I draw a shaky breath, trying to calm my racing thoughts. Staying put means waiting for help that might never come. But venturing out there in the dark for help gives me an eerie feeling. My eyes dart to the rearview mirror, half expecting to see glowing eyes staring back at me. There's nothing but darkness. I grip the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white. The car suddenly feels like a cage, suffocating me with each passing second. My gaze flicks between the road ahead and the dense forest on either side. Think, Sarah, what are your options? Stay in the relative safety of the car, or risk the unknown by walking? Neither choice sits well with me. As if summoned by my indecision, a memory surfaces. Whispered stories about this stretch of highway. Disappearances, people vanishing without a trace. I shake my head, trying to dislodge the thought. Don't be ridiculous. Urban legends, nothing more. But the seed of doubt has been planted, taking root in the fertile soil of my fear. My hand hovers over the door handle, hesitating. With a frustrated growl, I snatch my flashlight from the glove compartment. Sitting here won't solve anything. Before I can second-guess myself, I wrench open the door and step out into the night. The cold wind lashes at me, its frosty breath leaving my body trembling and chilled to the core. I flick on the flashlight, its beam barely piercing the thick darkness ahead. The road stretches endlessly before me, a ribbon of cracked asphalt illuminated by faint moonlight. Each step crunches loudly on loose gravel, the sound unnaturally amplified in the stillness. I walk briskly, my free arm wrapped tightly around my middle. The beam of my flashlight bounces erratically, creating strange shadows that dance at the edges of my vision. A flicker of something pale catches my eye. I swing the flashlight toward it, revealing the outline of a car. My pace quickens as I approach, hope fluttering in my chest. Maybe there's someone who can help, or at least a working phone. The hope dies as quickly as it bloomed. The car sits abandoned, its driver's door hanging open like a gaping mouth. There's no sign of the owner, no clue as to what might have happened. A sudden chill washes over me, but it's not the night air that makes my skin crawl. I force myself to keep moving, but my steps are more hesitant now. My eyes dart from side to side, searching for any movement in the shadows. I've gone barely 50 yards when I spot another vehicle. This one's a pickup truck, and its rusted frame is a stark contrast to the well-maintained car I just passed. Again, the door stands open, inviting investigation. My instincts scream at me to keep walking, but curiosity overrides caution. I approach slowly, my flashlight beam revealing the truck's worn interior. Something catches my eye. A series of deep scratches damaging the dashboard. I lean closer, squinting to make out the crudely carved words. "Don't leave your car." A cold fear grips me. The warning is disturbingly precise, impossible to overlook. Who could have left this message? What truth do they possess? I take a step back from the truck, my mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. Should I turn back? Try to make it to my own car? The thought of sitting in that dead metal box suddenly seems even more terrifying than before. A twig snaps in the distance. I whirl around, my flashlight beam cutting wildly through the darkness. Nothing moves, nothing but the wind, howling through the trees with an almost mournful sound. But beneath the wind, there's something else, a sound that doesn't belong. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, crunching on gravel, and they're getting closer. A jolt of fear sends my heart racing as I burst into a full sprint. The flashlight beam bounces crazily, barely illuminating the path ahead. Whatever's behind me is gaining ground, its presence feeling impossibly large, unnatural. I risk a glance over my shoulder and immediately wish I hadn't. A dark shape bursts from the shadows, lunging toward me with inhuman speed. I duck instinctively, feeling the rush of air as it passes over me. My feet slip and skid over the loose gravel as I push myself forward in a frantic sprint. My lungs burn and every breath of mine is a ragged gasp. The creature's growl echoes behind me, guttural and hungry. It sends a fresh surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. I veer off the road and plunge into the trees. Branches whip at my face as I crash through the underbrush. My legs scream for rest, but fear pushes me onward. Then I see it. A flicker of light in the distance. As I draw closer, I make out the weak flashing of hazard lights. Another car. I run toward it, praying it's not another trap. This one looks different from the others. Newer, its doors mercifully closed. Frightened, I yank open the driver's side door and collapse into the seat. For a moment, I sit there, catching up with my breath. My gaze darts to the rearview mirror, searching for any sign of pursuit. The woods remain still and silent. I turn my attention to the car's interior, noting how pristine it looks compared to the others. The keys dangle invitingly from the ignition. It seems too good to be true, but I'm out of options. With a silent prayer, I turn the key. Instead of an engine roaring to life, the radio crackles loudly. I recoil, and my hand instinctively moves to shut it off. But before I can touch the dial, a voice emerges from the static. It's hardly more than a hushed breath, yet the chill of its words leaves me trembling.
You've fallen into the trap.
I slam my palm against the radio, desperate to silence it. The voice persists, growing louder, more insistent. It seems to come from the static itself, as though the radio speaks directly to me. As I frantically press buttons, the dashboard lights begin to flicker erratically. A horrifying realization dawns on me. This car isn't my salvation. It's a lure, just like the others. I've walked right into the same trap as all those who came before. I grip the steering wheel as I stare out into the night. The creature planned this from the start. And now, I'm exactly where it wants me. A sudden movement catches my eye, and my breath stalls in my chest. There, just beyond the car's headlights, a shadow detaches itself from the darkness of the woods. The creature has returned. It moves with an unnatural grace, circling the car slowly. In the dim light from the dashboard, I can make out its outline, twisted and wrong, in ways my mind struggles to comprehend. Its eyes lock onto mine, large and reflective, devoid of anything human. A whimper escapes my lips as its claws drag across the window, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. I press myself deeper into the seat as if I could somehow meld with the upholstery and disappear. The beast lingers, seeming to savor my terror. Then, with agonizing slowness, it slinks back into the shadows. But I know it hasn't gone far. It's out there, watching, waiting for me to make my next mistake. I sit frozen, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. The carved warning from the truck dashboard flashes in my mind. Don't leave your car. But it's too late. I've already left mine. The realization settles over me like a suffocating blanket. Whatever this creature is, it's hunting those who break the rules of this God-forsaken road. And I've broken them all. My throat feels rough and dry as I force down a hard swallow. My next move will determine whether I live or die. Do I stay in this cursed car and wait for the inevitable? Or do I make a run for it, knowing the creature is out there, waiting for me? The radio crackles again, the sinister voice rising from the static.
Choose wisely, Sarah. The night is long, and the hunt has only just begun.
My fingers fumble for the key. Come on, come on! Turning the ignition desperately. The engine sputters, coughs, then falls silent. Dead. I can feel the sweat drip down my back as I gaze through the windshield, trying to focus. I turn on the headlights. Its twin beams shine through the mist, illuminating something. Shadows shift just beyond their reach, formless shapes twisting in ways that set my teeth on edge. I blink hard, hoping it's just my eyes playing tricks. But when I look again, there are more of them. I try to breathe, but the air halts in my throat as I count 1, 2, 3, 5 grotesque figures emerging from the darkness. Their limbs are wrong. Too long, too thin. They move with a jerky, unnatural twist that makes my stomach churn. As they draw closer, I can make out more details. Skin stretched tight over sharp bones, hands that end in wicked claws, and their eyes, empty sockets that somehow still manage to fix on me with predatory hunger. My hand shoots to the door handle, but I freeze. Which is worse, staying in this metal coffin or facing those things on foot? The creatures lurch closer, answering my question for me. I slam my palm against the dashboard. Start, damn you! The key grinds in the ignition, but the engine remains stubbornly silent. A low growl drifts through the night air, raising the hair on the back of my neck. Damn it! I slam my fist into the steering wheel out of frustration. Think, think, think. The sound of my pounding echoes in the silence, but no solution comes. Just the cold, creeping dread as those things inch closer. With a strangled cry, I fling the car door open. The cold air crashes against me, snapping my mind into focus as the panic momentarily fades. Run. That's all I can do now. Run and pray I'm faster than whatever the hell those things are. My feet hit the pavement and I'm off, sprinting down the road. Each impact jars through my body, but I push through the discomfort. My ragged breaths seem obscenely loud in the quiet night. I chance a glance over my shoulder and immediately wish I hadn't. The creatures are giving chase, their distorted forms slipping between moonlit patches and inky shadows. They're gaining on me. I face forward again, focusing on the road ahead. But something's off. The asphalt seems to twist and writhe, stretching impossibly far into the distance. It's as if the very ground is conspiring against me, trying to keep me trapped here forever. My legs are on fire, my muscles screaming in protest. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this pace. Just as I'm about to give in to despair, an unexpected sound cuts through the night. The distinctive slam of a car door. Hope surges through me, giving me a second wind. I'm not alone out here after all. I put on an extra burst of speed, ignoring the burning in my lungs as I race toward the source of the sound. I skid to a stop, panting heavily as I take in the scene before me. Another car sits abandoned in the middle of the road, its door still slightly ajar. For a moment, I allow myself to believe that salvation has arrived. But as I draw closer, that hope withers and dies. Deep scratches scar the surface of the vehicle, the metal peeled back like the skin of an overripe fruit. Whatever, whoever, was here before is long gone now. A wave of fear comes over me as the implications become clear. These creatures have been here before. They've hunted others, just like they're hunting me now. The depth of my isolation strikes me again. Almost too much to bear. A low growl snaps me back to the present danger. I whirl around just in time to see one of the creatures charging at me. In the moonlight, I can finally see it clearly, and I wish to God I didn't. Its body is a nightmarish patchwork of stretched skin and protruding bones. Elongated arms end in wickedly curved claws that slice through the air as it reaches for me. But it's the face that will haunt me forever. A skull-like visage with empty eye sockets that somehow still manage to radiate hunger. I scream, instinct taking over as I drop to the ground. The creature's claws whistle over my head, close enough that I feel the displacement of air. Scrambling backward, my hand closes around a fist-sized rock. It's not much, but it's all I've got. The thing wheels around for another attack. This time, I'm ready. As it lunges, I swing the rock with all my might. There's a sickening crunch as it connects with the creature's face, A black-like fluid sprays from the gash, splattering my shirt in a messy arc. The creature lets out an unearthly shriek, its body contorting in pain, but it doesn't retreat. If anything, the injury seems to have enraged it further. I don't wait to see what it'll do next. I'm on my feet and running again before its scream has faded from the air. My hand throbs, and I realize I've cut myself on the rock. Blood mingles with the creature's blood, creating a gruesome mess. But I can't afford to worry about that now. I clutch my injured hand to my chest and keep moving. My breath comes in shallow gasps, and each inhale sends daggers of pain through my chest. How long have I been running? Minutes? Hours? Time has lost all meaning in this nightmare. Behind me, I hear the creatures giving chase once more. Their screeches echo through the night, spurring me on even as my body begs for rest. I know I can't keep this up forever. Something has to give, and soon. Just when I think I can't take another step, the landscape changes. The oppressive tunnel of trees opens up into a large clearing. For a split second, I feel a surge of relief. Open space means more room to maneuver, right? Then I see what's in the clearing, and that fleeting hope curdles into horror. Wrecked cars litter the area, their rusted hulls gleaming dully in the moonlight. Some are overturned, their undercarriages exposed like the soft bellies of dead animals. Others have been torn open, jagged metal peeled back to expose ravaged interiors. The stench hits me next. A nauseating mix of decay and stale gasoline that has me fighting not to puke. As my eyes adjust to the gloom, I notice darker shapes scattered among the wreckage. My mind rebels against what I'm seeing, but there's no denying the truth. Bones. Human bones bleached white by time and the elements. Some still cling to scraps of clothing, a grotesque reminder of the lives cut short here. Newer remains are mixed in with the old, creating a timeline of terror that stretches back decades. My legs give out, and I collapse to my knees. The full weight of my situation crashes down on me. This isn't some random attack. It's a well-established hunting ground. How many travelers have been lured here over the years? How many have met their end in this forsaken place? And now I'm next. The thought motivates me, forcing me back to my feet despite my body's protests. I have to keep moving. I have to find a way out of this hellscape. But as I turn to run, my legs buckle. I've pushed myself beyond my limits, and now my body is betraying me when I need it most. The growls behind me are getting louder. The creatures are closing in, sensing that their prey is weakening. I stumble forward, each step a monumental effort. My vision blurs. Exhaustion and fear combine to create a dizzying cocktail. I know I can't keep this up much longer. Something has to change, or I'll end up as just another set of bones in this macabre collection. The creatures' cries grow louder, triumphant now. They know they've won. As I feel the rush of air from those clawed hands, one thought blazes sharply in my mind. I don't want to die here. Just as despair threatens to overwhelm me, I spot something through the dense trees, a flickering light. Hope surges through me, giving me a second wind. A house. There's a house just past those trees. The creature's growl grows louder, spurring me into a final desperate sprint. My lungs burn as I sprint away from that grotesque graveyard scene, crashing through the underbrush. Branches whip at my face, but I barely feel the sting. All that matters is reaching that light. I burst into a small clearing, the house looming before me. It's an old, weathered structure, its paint peeling and windows grimy. But right now, it looks like salvation. I stagger up to the door, my fist pounding against the worn wood. Help! Please! Someone help me! Seconds stretch into eternity as I wait, straining to hear any sound from within. Just as I'm about to give up hope, the door creaks open. An elderly woman peers out at me, her wrinkled face etched with concern.
Oh, you poor dear. Come in quickly now.
I don't need to be told twice. I stumble across the threshold. the old woman closing and locking the door behind me. The interior of the house is warm, lit by the flickering glow of a fireplace. The scent of herbs and old wood fills my nostrils, a stark contrast to the decay-laden air outside. My legs finally give out and I collapse into a nearby chair, my chest heaving as I struggle to catch my breath. The old woman bustles about, retrieving a steaming mug from the kitchen.
Drink this, dear. It'll help calm your nerves.
I take a sip, the warmth of the tea spreading through my body. For a moment, I allow myself to relax. I'm safe. I've escaped those things. But the moment of peace is shattered by a sharp scratching sound. My head snaps up, eyes darting to the nearest window. Terror surges through me as I see the contorted face pressed against the window, its empty eye sockets staring directly at me. They're here.
They won't get in,
the old woman assures me, but I can see the creatures circling the house through the windows. Their elongated limbs move with an unnatural grace as they test the barriers, searching for a way in. My gaze falls on a fireplace poker leaning against the hearth. Without thinking, I grab it, the weight of the iron comforting in my hands. The old woman notices, her brow furrowing.
You should stay inside, dear. It's safer here.
But I can't shake the feeling that we're only prolonging the inevitable. These things, whatever they are, won't give up. They'll find a way in eventually, and I refuse to be cornered when they do. I have to face them before they break through. The old woman opens her mouth to protest, but I'm already moving. My hand closes around the doorknob, and I take a deep breath, steeling myself for what's to come. I step outside, the cool night air a shock after the warmth of the house. The creatures stand at the edge of the clearing, their twisted forms illuminated by the faint glow spilling from the windows. They watch me, utterly still, save for the occasional twitch of their elongated limbs. For a moment, I'm frozen. The sheer otherworldliness of these beings threatens to overwhelm me. But then I tighten my grip on the poker, raising it like a weapon. If I'm going to die here, I'll go down fighting. Just as I brace myself for their attack, a sound pierces the night. It's laughter. Cold, unnatural laughter that sends chills down my spine. I whirl around, my eyes widening as I see the old woman emerge from the shadows of the porch. Her face, once kind and gentle, is now twisted into a grotesque grin. Her frail form seems to shift before my eyes, straightening and growing more powerful. When she speaks, her voice is deeper, laced with malice.
You poor thing. I've been feeding my children for centuries, and now you've come to feed them too.
I stumble backward, my mind reeling as I try to process what I'm seeing. The old woman's face continues to change, becoming less and less human with each passing second. Her eyes gleam with wicked delight as she watches my growing horror. What are you? She laughs again, the sound grating against my ears.
I am the mother, and these are my children. Hungry children they are, and they always need nourishment.
The creatures surround me, their gaunt bodies moving with an eerie grace. They growl and click, a cacophony of inhuman sounds that makes my skin crawl. But they don't attack. Instead, they seem to be waiting, their empty eye sockets fixed on their monstrous mother. This house, it wasn't a refuge. It was a trap. The old woman, no, the creature masquerading as an old woman, nods, her twisted grin never faltering.
Smart girl, but not smart enough to avoid becoming our next meal.
Rage burns through me, momentarily overpowering my fear. With a cry, I swing the fireplace poker at her head. She laughs, her body twisting unnaturally to avoid the blow. The creatures growl, agitated, but they still don't attack. I swing again and again, but it's like fighting smoke. The monster that was once an old woman moves with impossible speed, always just out of reach. My arms ache, but I press on, driven by desperation and fury.
Feisty, my children do so enjoy it when the prey fights back. It makes the meal all the sweeter.
With a scream of frustration, I lunge forward, putting all my strength behind one final thrust. The poker plunges into the creature's chest with a sickening squelch. For a moment, everything freezes. The old woman's twisted grin falters, her eyes widening in shock. Then she shrieks. An ear-splitting sound that's equal parts rage and pain. Her body convulses, twisting in ways that no human form should be capable of. Black liquid sprays from the wound, splattering across my face and clothes. I stagger back, watching in horrified fascination as the creature that was once an old woman collapses to the ground. Her body continues to twitch and contort, the inhuman shrieks growing weaker until finally, she falls still. Silence descends over the clearing. I stand there, chest heaving, the blood-slicked poker still clutched in my trembling hands. Slowly, I turn to face the other creatures, certain that they'll tear me apart now that I've killed their mother. But they don't move. Their contorted faces are fixed on me, heads tilted at an unnatural angle. They remain utterly still, as if waiting for something. A wave of dread ripples through me as the horrifying truth comes to light. I killed their mother. The creatures move as one, their disfigured bodies bending in what can only be described as a bow. They're not attacking because they no longer see me as prey. They see me as their new master. The poker slips from my numb fingers, clattering to the ground. My mind spins, unable to fully grasp the weight of what's just happened. I try to step back, to run, but my legs won't cooperate. The creatures straighten, their eyeless gazes still fixed on me, waiting for a command, waiting for me to take up the mantle of their monstrous mother. I want to scream, to deny this twisted reality. But as I stand there, surrounded by these nightmarish beings, I can feel something changing within me. A darkness spreading through my veins, reshaping me from the inside out. The nightmare, I realize with growing horror, is far from over. It's only just begun. I take a halting step backward. The creature's gaze follows me, but they don't advance. Their empty eye sockets seem to glow with an otherworldly intelligence. Stay back. I raise my hand, palm out, silently urging them to keep their distance. My voice just now sounds alien to my ears. They don't react, just keep staring. I take another step. My foot catches on a loose wood plank on the porch and I stumble. That's when I feel it. A tugging sensation deep in my core, like hooks sinking into my very being. My breath hitches as an alien presence brushes against my mind. No, this can't be happening. I try to turn away, to run, but my legs won't cooperate. It's as if invisible chains have wrapped around my limbs, weighing me down. The creatures edge closer, moving with an unnatural grace. Their eyeless gazes are no longer predatory. There's an admiration in how they tilt their heads and reach toward me with skeletal hands. Get away from me! The pull within me tightens, like dark tendrils slithering through my thoughts, coiling tighter with every second. My hands fly to my head, fingers clawing at my scalp, desperate to rip this insidious force from my mind as if it were something I could physically tear away. This isn't real. Wake up, Sarah, wake up! But I know, with a bone-deep certainty, that this is no dream. This is a nightmare made flesh, and I'm trapped in the middle of it. I force myself to move, each step a monumental effort. The road. If I can reach the road, maybe I can escape. Maybe there's still hope. My legs are leaden as I stumble through the underbrush. Branches snag at my clothes, thorns raking across my skin. I barely feel the sting. All I can focus on is putting one foot in front of the other. The creatures follow, their movements eerily silent. No snapping twigs, no rustling leaves, just the soft whisper of two long limbs gliding through the night. I break through the tree line and onto the road. With my car in sight, I make a run for it, gasping as I collide with the side of my car. The metal is cool beneath my palms, grounding me for a moment. I fumble for the door handle, my fingers slick with blood and sweat. Come on, open, damn you! The handle refuses to budge. I yank harder, desperation lending me strength. Nothing. A glint of movement catches my eye. I look up, meeting my own gaze in the reflection of the car window. For a split second, everything inside me goes still, even my heart. The face staring back at me is wrong. My eyes, once a normal hazel, now glow with an unnatural light. My skin is pale, almost translucent, and pulled tight over sharp cheekbones. Even as I watch, horrified, my features continue to shift and change. No, this can't be happening. But it is. There seems to be a curse, and it's not letting me go. It's consuming me, body and soul. I spin around, my back pressed against the car. The creatures have emerged from the forest, forming a loose semicircle around me. They're waiting, watching, and I finally understand. The old woman's death, her responsibility and curse has passed on to me. A hysterical laugh bubbles up in my throat. All this time I thought I was being hunted, but I wasn't just prey. I was a replacement. The creatures weren't trying to kill me. They were waiting for me to take the old woman's place. As the realization sinks in, the creatures move as one. They lower themselves to the ground, elongated limbs folding beneath them in a grotesque mockery of a bow. Their eyeless faces remain fixed on me, awaiting command. Vomit rises in my throat. This can't be real. I can't be their master. I turn back to the car, yanking frantically at the door handle. Let me in! Pounding my fists against the unyielding metal. Please, just let me go! But there's no escape. The road stretches out before me, twisting and writhing like a living thing. I can feel its pull now, a relentless force dragging me deeper into this nightmare. My legs give out, and I slide to the ground, my back still pressed against the car. Tears stream down my face as the full weight of my situation crashes down on me. The road was never just a trap for unwary travelers. It's part of something bigger, something ancient and terrible. It doesn't just lead the lost to their doom. It creates something new. A new predator, a new master for these monstrous children. I can feel the change taking hold now, spreading through me like poison. My mind bends beneath its weight, twisting into something unrecognizable. I want to scream, to rage against this fate. But my voice catches in my throat, coming out as little more than a strangled whimper. The creatures edge closer, their grotesque forms no longer disgusting me. They're sickly familiar now. They're mine, my children. No, I'm not. I won't. But even as I try to deny it, I can feel my will crumbling. The last shreds of my humanity are slipping away, consumed by the hungry darkness of the curse. I struggle to my feet, and my movements are jerky and uncoordinated. My body feels alien. 2 long limbs and sharpened angles where there should be soft curves.
The creatures rise with me, awaiting my command. Their eyeless gazes hold an expectation that terrifies me to my core. I take a halting step forward, then another. The asphalt beneath my feet pulses with dark energy. The road stretches endlessly before me, hungry for new victims, new prey. The thought sends a shudder of horror through me. But beneath that, buried deep where I can barely acknowledge it, is a flicker of anticipation. I clench my fists, nails digging into my palms hard enough to draw blood. I won't. I'm not like her. I won't do this. But even as I say the words, I know they're a lie. The curse has sunk its hooks too deep. There's no escape, no relief. I've become the very thing I was running from. A sob catches in my throat as I take another step down the road. The creatures follow, a silent procession of nightmare-made flesh. They are my children. They are my legacy. The last remnants of Sarah, of who I was, dissolve like mist. In her place stands something new, something terrible. I tilt my head back, feeling the cool night air on my changed skin. The road pulses beneath me, alive with dark promise. And I understand, finally and fully, the true horror of this place. The road doesn't just take victims, it takes everything.